All right. So, welcome back to another episode. And today, I'm kind of getting to the point. I'm going to stop saying I have special guests because just about everybody is special. But today, we're excited to have a former athlete and now a sports analyst, a man who has now joined the ranks to to chop it up on some things. Just sports in general, athletics in particular, but also we just had the situation where some of our top athletes try to switch allegiance to go to another country, not for the first time, but we want to take an in-depth look at it because. But first, let me introduce him, Dwayne Extol. Welcome and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Courtney, thanks for having me, man. It's really a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And I never got a chance, but let me welcome you to the ranks of the sports analyst and the man who do a lot of talking.
It's a different space, I can tell you that much.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
because you're used to running on your legs. Now you're just running your mouth.
yeah, for the most part, I tried running on my legs a couple of years ago and it never worked out too well.
Yeah. No man, but welcome man. It's a great space and it's great to have a person like you who would have been out there, you've been in the trenches, you know what it's like. And which is why I prefer to talk to, well, not so prefer, but I like to talk to people like you who knows what it's like when some things happen. Immediately you start to think like the people who are affected and the people who are involved. And that is why I
hmm
want to talk to you about this. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been offered the opportunity to switch allegiance and represent another country other than Jamaica?
Yeah, funny enough, as soon as we were done with Champs 2010 and we had gone off our separate ways, there was one offer in the early stages of my career. Uh, People have approached me to come and compete for their country, but it never crossed my mind to do that. Not because of patriotism or anything else, but because I never really loved track and field that much to see myself competing for another country. And people hear me say that, I mean, track and field was a means to an end for me. And I never really saw myself, even though I wanted to go to the Olympics or the World Championship just one time to say I represented the country, I never saw it as a career. So I never took on the offer when it came my way.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, you threw a spanner in the works, though. You never saw track and field as a way out. Is it that you had other avenues that you could have excelled at that track and field wouldn't have to be that one thing?
No, well, track and field got me to where I needed to go. It was the vehicle to get me to a certain point. I had a full scholarship to go to University overseas. I spent 2 years at University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, Roll Tide, and then I moved on 2 years to Texas Tech. So track and field played its part and its purpose in my life and where I wanted to go. But then at a point, life became a little different, and I tell you, Courtney, I don't really like the bug. I wake up early training things. I tell you the truth. That's one reason why I was in college. It never to work out. Like after my second year, I said, boy, I have to get up 4:30 every day, go training, go gym, go class. Like at that point, that's why I admire those who do it because it takes serious dedication to compete at the highest level. And I couldn't bother with that. I mean, some days my one just ends up with my friend on a Friday, but me have to go sleep early because me have train Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I never have the college experience like most people got when they went overseas, and I wanted that. And in hindsight, 2020, of course, I mean, I could have done better with track, but I never cut out for the early morning thing. I couldn't do it.
So now almost like Usain Bolt to me.
Yeah, and Bolt's a special talent. I mean, and that is why I know that he could have been so much faster, so much better. But again, such is the nature of the sport that like Bolt, he has enormous potential when he was younger. He showed it very early. For me, I had to work very hard. My teammates will tell you I used to train hard when I was in high school. When I got to university, the love and the passion, it faded away because I had interest other places. I had interest in volunteering, an interest in other world events. Like I had so many things when I went to school at my disposal that as I track and field alone, it'll get me a certain point, but not to where I want to go.
I got you. But as you talk about, let's talk about the college experience. And I'm gonna relate something to you and tell me if you can relate to this. I remember it was back in, I would say probably early 90s, early 2000s. I was working the sports desk and a friend of mine lived overseas and she contacted me, and there's a particular legend, track and field legend, one that we hold in very high esteem in Jamaica. And that lady called me and asked me if I know what this particular athlete is going through and the challenges. I was like, well, no, because that side of track and field is really never exposed to us. And
Mm.
this lady was saying to me that she, on occasion, had to put up this person, feed them, take care of them, and they were overseas on scholarship. This particular athlete, however, pulled through. Like I said, she's a legend in Jamaica, so I'm sure she would have, made her, track and field would have made her, and she's all right. Yeah.
Mm.
But there was another athlete who I found out that this lady was also taking care of her. Like during summer break, she wanted to go back to Jamaica. She can't go back to Jamaica. But then now I started to track this athlete and I started to write stories on her exploits in college. One day, the great Larry Foster, I'm sure you know who Larry Foster is. The great
Yes,
Larry
right.
Foster called me and asked me to stop putting her in the news, stop carrying
Mm.
stories about her. I'm like, but why, Larry? And it was a situation where her mother was in Jamaica, heard her being mentioned on the radio with all that she was doing, called her to cuss her out to say, imagine you that foreigner win all these races and I live life, and me that Jamaica suffer. Yeah, and I was like, wow, what a disconnect, because I knew on the other end what this athlete was going through and some of the
Right,
things
right.
that athletes actually go through when they get this glamorous Ghana and scholarship thing. Some of the things that I've heard been described. Speak to us on that. Some of the things that athletes go through when they leave on scholarship.
Well, it is different for everyone. And for me, I think what my experience was won't be the same experience as someone who went up with me at the same time. What was different for me is that knew that I knew I had some matters to think about because again I was from a single parent family. My dad passed when I was young, so it was just my mother who had to look after us. So I never had the support from back home. So like a lot of athletes who leave home, don't have the support, don't have the kind of backing that you'd need to be successful. So when you go there, you're depending on others. And then the scholarship is one thing, but then you need help spending money here and there. And if you're not as social as I am, you don't get exposed to different people. And you find families, you find jobs here and there who will help you. You become part of a community that will help you out. And sometimes our athletes, they don't have that kind of personality or exposure to know when they go to a different country it's okay to reach out to others for help. I mean, I never always did it. For the first 2 years of my college career, I did everything on my own. Plus my roommates, my teammates, I depended on them. But to reach out to other people who wanted to help, I didn't. And yeah, people reaching out to me at the same time. And I guess it's our pride sometimes. We're a prideful set of people. We want to be independent. And it wasn't until I think I got to Penrelays one year, and a gentleman, Teddy Bailey, reached out to me and said, he knows the struggle of the unsaid struggle, so to speak. He knows what it's like, and he saw me from afar and just he kept me on them wing, and he really did a lot for me in terms of helping me navigate through college. So I think just like the story that you told just now about the young ladies who get help, and a lot of athletes they do get help, and sometimes they forget about the help that they get and they move on without paying it forward to those who really need it. But it is better now, I think. It seems better, especially with the whole change in the system of the NCAA, the NIL deals that athletes are getting while still being in school. It is different, and I think that is part of why evolution is necessary. I mean, the system has evolved in such a way where people can benefit from it now. Student athletes can benefit, but in our time, it was tough. It was tough. We had to pick up jobs here and there where we could because you had a scholarship, but you get a little bit of money from the scholarship, but you wanted to experience life. You wanted to
Mm-hmm.
buy a nice vehicle so you can move around and things like that. You want to carry your girlfriend to a movie, spend some money. You want to buy something nice. You wanted to do that, and it wasn't readily available. So sometimes when off season came in the summer, you work some jobs. So it's not all it was cracked up to be then, but again, it's like the discipline that you get from being back home. and the drive that you have. Because sometimes when those things fade, you see that's where other athletes tend to lose their way. And we've had so many cases in recent times, well, in the past and in recent times, where athletes seem to be okay. They seem to be well off in terms of what they're getting from the schools, but because they don't have that support system, whether home or there, they tend to fall by the wayside.
Mm. All right. So let's fast forward. I mean, we could spend some more time on that because I also heard stories of people who on campus mopping floors, cleaning bathrooms, that kind of thing. Those things that they
Mowing
have to do to
lawn,
make a little money.
mowing
And
lawns, babysitting, dog walking, I can name a whole heap of things, Bridget.
wow.
A whole heap.
Wow. And of
Cooking.
course, back home when you hear it's a glamour because you never hear about athlete X is dog walking or cleaning the canteen. What you heard is that athlete X did X on the track.
Yeah, man. And that's what most people business about. They're not really business about anything else. And again, it is because they only see the final product.
Right.
You get me? They only see the finished product. And that's why diamonds are such a precious stone because people see the final product, but they don't see the rigors that it goes through to get to that stage. And that's why people are so sometimes judgmental of athletes when they look at them and they say, you have it all made, you have everything, you've gotten all these things, but behind the scenes, there are days when athletes go hungry, Courtney, when they have to have leftover meals from days before. And there's nobody who sometimes don't understand that kind of struggle. So when them see the athletes at the top of the pile now, they must say, boy, you reach and you make it, life was easy for you. It's never easy. It's never
Yeah.
ever easy.
And I guess for I mean what you describe is a lot of people will say, yeah, we had to go through hard times. But it's different if an ordinary person, ordinary quote unquote, not an athlete, go to college and have to go through these things. It's just part of the survival. But for the athlete, because your name is being called, especially if you were, somebody who did well at champs,
Hmm.
and you have a lot of spotlight on you, and then now this happened, yeah, there's an anomaly there. And I'll say this right here also, Dwayne, without fear or favor, we're not necessarily a country that cares for our people. We're about the
Yeah,
hype. We love the hype. There are only a
100.
handful of people in Jamaica who will look beyond the hype and ask a man, hey, what's happening with you? How's your mental health? Who's taking care of you? How you dealing with this? How you dealing with that? Kind of a thing. So there's a big gap there. But let me fast forward now to that athlete that has now done well in college and now have to go pro. Yeah, now that athlete have to go pro now is a whole different thing. Now there was a lot of limelight when they were in college and doing what they were doing. Now they go pro, everybody like, yeah, they're making money now. From a standpoint of let's look at okay, then the governing body who is supposed to be responsible for our national athletes. I want to go there because we remember now we're getting right back to what just recently happened with the botch
Chance of
switch
allegiance.
allegiance thing.
Right,
That's what we're
right, right.
coming back to. So
Hmm.
these athletes are out there. Is there anybody from like the governing bodies or anybody at all? I mean, a body in terms of an organization that tracks these athletes and try to do anything at all for them?
Let me put it this way. Categorically, no. And I think where we have fallen short in that respect is because the abundance of talent that we have. I think back to one example, my freshman, sophomore roommate, Kirani James. Kirani James, Grenada, came to University of Alabama under Coach Harvey Glantz, who did a fantastic job with us in our first year. But Grenada invested heavily in ensuring that Kirani was looked after, and not just monetarily. They'd call to check in on him when he had particular meets, if he went to national. Someone from their association or someone close to the association would be around to ensure that he's fine. I don't think when the NCAAs, whether indoor or outdoor championship happens, and all these Jamaicans are gathered in the same place, I don't think anybody from the governing body in Jamaica goes to these meets. I don't think we have that kind of connection or that discussion with the schools that have our special talents. And I say special in the sense that they have potential to be elite. They have, for example, I think about Kevona Davis all the time. because she and Julian Alfred battled so much while they were in high school. And look at where Julian Alfred is now.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a result of the investment that St. Lucia has made in Julian Alfred while she was at Texas. Yeah, I mean, there are other factors that would have played a part in their development, but I think more should and could have been done to ensure that Kevona was doing the right thing when she was in school. Because I think it's nothing to put together a database of all our student athletes who we have in our on our radar, so to speak, to go to the Olympics or go to the World Championship. You have that database and you do a check-in with them once a month, quarterly a check-in. You talk to the schools to see how they're doing, just to ensure that they're getting one, the proper attention that they deserve. They are following up and staying on top of things in school. So these are the things that the association I think should be doing. But because we have so many people, so much talent at our disposal, it seems as if one gets lost in the system, no biggie, somebody else will rise. And I think that is one of the problems, the blessing and the curse that is Jamaica's track and field. Because when you look at the gentlemen who've decided to move on, Stoner, Pinnock, Hibbert, Campbell, and people say, boy, with Hibbert going, especially because of his potential, Jamaica won't get another chance to get in the middle in the triple jump. Well, here comes Jordan Scott. So it happens like this so much that because the talent that we have at our disposal, it replenishes so quickly. And then when somebody's gone, I mean, I think about Akeem Bloomfield all the time. I know there's a lot in his story that has not been told, but he was um, I think the second Jamaican man to run sub 44. And then after a couple of seasons, not much was heard of him again. And then, heard that he retired at about 28. I think even that, so these stories where athletes they go overseas and they travel to these different countries to live or different countries to live and further their education, no one keeps a track on them. And I think because they don't feel valued like we've seen with the ones who applied for uh, the change of allegiance to Turkey, because they don't feel valued, they want to put themselves in a place where for the next 10 years, my talent is valued and I myself as an individual is treated with respect.
And you're right about that. We have such a plethora of talent. Not just I think of even artists,
Oh yeah, man.
and I've seen this happen so many times where a man is walking on the road and a man's at him say, such and such artist, and him look and say, oh, I am that, all right, and him just keep moving because guess what happened? There's a good chance there's an 10 artists come from where him come from, so it no
Yeah,
mean
right.
it no mean nothing. And
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
absolutely right about that. But is that an excuse though, Dwayne, that a governing body that is supposed to have the country's interests, can that be an excuse for them? Because I think it was Pinnock. I heard an interview from him where he said that he didn't even get as much as an email from the J3s. Now remember, Pinnock is not a man who fell by the wayside somewhere. This man is a man who's representing Jamaica at the very highest. He's an elite athlete representing the country, and he can boldface come out and say he hasn't even gotten an email from the J3s. Is that even possible?
I mean, it is possible, but I want to also caution that statement because I know recognition was given to Payne by the Jamaica Olympic Association.
Mm-hmm.
They have, at least from my memory, acknowledged and recognized his accomplishments. So I think the nexus of it is because you look at the four who have decided that they want to switch allegiance. Remember, they don't live and train in Jamaica. They live in the States. And for those people who live in America, they know what the cost of living looks like. And when you get, say, you have a scholarship, a contract with um, a, a shoe brand that pays you in US dollars, you can live in Jamaica with that because it's not one for one.
Mm-hmm.
But in the States, it's a little different.
Whole
Your
different ball
bills
game.
are, yeah, your bills look real. So
Mm,
the dollar figure doesn't um, multiply like when you're here.
right.
So when they have bills to pay like that, it is difficult to think that boy the association will look after that. Remember, they're still professionals and they've chosen to live in a different country. They've chosen to apply their trade in a different country. Is it the governing body's job to do that? Because then a lot of athletes will say, boy, this is what I'm expecting. So it's tough, especially for our country, where our GDP isn't like Turkey that has money in the billions.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have those kind of resources. And I guess there hasn't been any negotiation with our shoe sponsor, with our kit sponsor, Puma, to have these things put in place for our elite athletes. Not saying that you need to buy them a house, a car, and all these things, but there are things that can be done to ensure that their lives are a little easier. But again, I don't know what the demands are. I don't know what the athletes want from the governing body to ensure that they're comfortable.
But like you said, I mean, so I went with that argument before because that's not the first time I've heard it, that the lack of contact. Because I'm saying that, if me and you are brethren, we're just brethren, and you're competing, I might not necessarily be in a position for, you know, replace your spikes every time you need a
Right,
replacement. But
right.
I mean, a call for say, Extol, what go on, man? Oh, I notice say today you run and you never look worried. You understand me? I say, and
Mhm.
create that, like you said, that feeling of somebody cares, somebody's looking out for you. You don't feel like you're out there on your own. Of course, you're a professional. There are
Yeah,
certain choices you make, and I don't believe the J3s or the government should be looking after certain things professionally, but also you also representing the country.
hmm hmm
You're representing the country, so there must be some form of a standard that says, hey, listen, we can afford to take care of this. Between you and your management, work out how you can incorporate that into what you
Correct,
earn.
correct.
You
Yeah,
see what I'm saying?
me
And,
agree,
and
me
and
agree with
and when
that.
I hear that there's just the lack of communication and just reaching out, that is what I'm talking about.
Let me tell you where I felt terrible. I felt terrible after the Olympic Games because as a child growing up, I remember 2008 when Bolt and Shelley and everybody light up the place. I remember the scenes in Jamaica when that happened. Fast forward to 2024, Roger Stona wins Jamaica's first medal in the discus. And not just the first medal, first gold medal
Gold medal.
with an Olympic record.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I'm saying, boy, when Roger comes back, there's going to be a motorcade from airport come all the
Mm-hmm.
way to the stadium to celebrate him. Nothing happens.
Yeah. And
Such is
and
such is such is a disappointment for me.
yeah, yeah.
So you can
So
imagine how Roger felt being the first ever gold medalist from the English-speaking Caribbean to come from Jamaica with an Olympic record, and your country doesn't even recognize it in the way that, except Botswana, when let's see the Timbogo. I saw the stadium, the
mm-hmm.
players littered, the streets littered with people, hundreds of thousands celebrating the son of their soil. And we never done for Roger.
Yeah.
Never did it.
So, so basically we say no, because I've always thought, I remember, I think it might have been, was it Bolt or Asafa? One of them in that era where there was an argument where we had just hauled in some gold medal. As far on track and field at the Olympics, I think we were certainly top five. But because that was like a golden era. And there was an argument that, when the athletes come home, hey, listen, somebody mooted in the government mooted, we're going to give them a house.
Hmm.
And brethren, the amount of uproar, boy, them people can't afford it already, but they give poor people a house. I mean, like, what kind of mentality that we are work with? You know what I mean? And the more you speak about it, it's almost like I really want to get to the question to ask you. How you feel about athletes switching allegiance to a richer country. But it's almost like the question is answering itself.
You see, circumstances will cause people to want to move to improve the situation. I'm not against a man or a woman deciding that if this isn't working for me, I'm going to explore other avenues that will, I think, that I think will be beneficial for them. I I also question when people say, when athletes get land or then get a house, you look at across the world what it means when a country has a gold medalist. I think back to Trinidad and Tobago, my good friend Jehu Gordon. Jehu won gold at the World Championship in the 400-meter hurdles. I think 2013 or 15, not sure. It doesn't come back to mind readily. But he got a house
Mm-hmm.
out of it because it's not just him winning a gold medal, it's him putting his country in a space to be recognized globally. You can't pay for that, you know.
Right.
The brand that is Trinidad, you can't pay for that on a global scale. Such is the same for the brand that is Jamaica. And because they are on the world stage, giving exposure to the country, me will sit down in my office, me not do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Me not have the platform to do that, but they do, and they use their talent. They work hard. I mean, they get benefits from it because they get paid, but they are doing something that us as regular citizens, regular civilians, we don't do. And we have unique talents in so many areas. You talk about music, you talk about our food, but it is another tourism kind of thing where they go on the world stage and the black, green, and gold, the anthem is playing in a stadium that people have never heard it before. You get what I'm saying? So people are seeing us, the visibility, you can't pay for it. So a gesture like giving them a piece of land, for example, it goes a long way to say, this is, we appreciate you. We appreciate what you've done for the country.
In the land of food and water, you can imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, it's and I see people in uproar say them a sell out and this and that, but I think those people have never been there. They've never felt the kind of desperation that
Mm-hmm.
you feel when you are working hard and the country that you're working hard for doesn't even recognize what you've done. You know, it's difficult.
But I want to tell you this too. I want to tell you what is even tougher for me. I've always noticed that you think of all the professional meets that have been staged in Jamaica or attempted to be staged in Jamaica, and you look at all these athletes, world class athletes, Jamaicans, who are on display, on parade at our national stadium. And you watch a TV or you go inside the stadium and you look on the crowd and you're like, hold on, so seriously? We're all the people. Because now you'd expect, hey, Dwayne Extol is now about to perform in Jamaica. You expect that people are going to turn up because they want to see their stars in person. But it don't happen. And to me, that in and of itself sends a message. So when, certain other things don't happen, well, if the people don't show up just to watch you, I mean, how much are you paying to go into the stadium to go watch an athlete perform?
You see, the thing is, that's another thing I say to people. Is when I'm going to the stadium, if I'm not working, I'm buying a ticket to go to the stadium. If I'm not doing commentary analysis, I'm buying a ticket because I've been to probably two track meets in Europe, and those people love track and field.
Mm-hmm.
And I say love, I mean love it. They pack the stadiums to the rafters to watch the best in the world compete. And at the top of this, you said it. We are not track and field. We're not sports people. The
We're
only thing
not.
the stadium gets full for is champs and Lionel Messi. Nothing else.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
imagine we have Khadija Bonishaw, who is right now, pound for pound, the best female footballer in the world. And you could barely fill up the grandstand.
But I tell you something. Bonnie Shaw, in my opinion, and this might be my Jamaican pride and bias, is one of the best female footballers we've seen over for a very, very long time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Put her
Yeah,
against the Abby Wambach
Martha,
the Brazilian name just slipped me.
Martha.
Martha. Yeah, you
Yeah,
put
man.
her against any of them. Matter of fact, she did go up against Martha
Correct,
in the World Cup,
correct,
knock out Brazil out of the World Cup.
correct.
You,
You
you,
see,
you know what I mean? So it I
but
don't
not
know
because
how we're going to deal with this when we're going to wake up as a people. Because, Dwayne, I look back at this, though, as something that's coming far from our history. Because I don't believe that as a country, we can ill afford to take care of our people. I do not believe
right,
it. I believe
right.
that as a country, we have the resources, yeah, where our GDP can be way up and we can actually look after our people, not just our athletes, but our people on a
In
whole.
general,
But if you think about it, think about the people who have ran the country ensuing from the people who enslaved the people in the country. What you have now is the sons of the slave master who come down and run the country. You understand me? And then the
Mm.
sons of the slaves are still in the same position. So the mentality always was deprive these people. You see? And which is why a lot of times I don't agree with the argument that Jamaica is a poor country. You cannot be a poor country when we produce the talent that we have. You should
Yeah,
not be a poor. You're not poor because money is being generated. The question is, where's the money going?
it's not poor, it's poorly governed.
There you go.
That is the key. I
There you
tell
go.
people all the time, I look at J3 as a microcosm, even our school system as a microcosm of what happens in society. You look at some of the issues that you experience in some of the schools. It's the same thing at the highest level. So it's not the talent that we don't produce. It's not the ability. It's not the resources. It's just how things are being governed. And it's hard, Courtney, I tell you the truth, because there are so many athletes that I interact with. Those who are, because even, for example, Johan Blake. Johan now has retired, the second fastest man in history.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he wasn't appreciated. I mean, he's said some things on his own that kind of hurt his own legacy, but I don't think he was appreciated. And I think a lot of our athletes, they fade away into nothingness after they're done because there's no send off, there's nothing, there's no recognition at the end of their career to say, we appreciate the service. They all, I think only two people, no, let me rephrase that. Only one person has gotten a proper send off here in Jamaica, and it's Usain Bolt. Even Shelley didn't get a proper send off because if you think about how much she's loved around the world, take her to Europe and put her in one of those Eastern European countries, and they will pack the stadium for her. They'll put on a show for her. We don't do that, and so many of our athletes, Courtney, have just quietly disappeared, never heard from them again. Again, they are too part to bear some responsibility because as our athletes don't speak. Things are bothering, things are happening to them, they don't speak, they just go out there and do the job because they know that if they don't perform, they don't get the attention that they
Mm-hmm.
deserve. So many times our athletes they give their all, blood, sweat, tears, literally arm and a leg, and then that's it. The country forgets about them.
Yeah.
They're gone off to be citizens in different countries, and they live quiet lives. I think some of them want it like that, but I think they all deserve, a send off because I think about one set of people in particular, 2015, the women's 4x4, when we beat the mighty USA.
Mm-hmm.
How many people from that team have gotten the recognition they deserve for a feat like that? Only one person still competing, Sherika Jackson. Nobly Williams Mills is gone off to have her family.
Mm-hmm.
Christine Day representing Jamaica in Japan. Stephanie McPherson has gone off into retirement as well. Where are they? Like, what's happened to them? Where's their recognition? You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right,
tough.
right, right. And that's sad, man, because you take me right back when you mentioned like Johan Blake and his legacy. If a man is frustrated and him speaking mind, to me, it is a chance for a sit down. Brethren, what
Mhm.
really I go on? Talk to me, what really I go on? Because you don't, like you said, you don't know what a man I go through. You don't know, and the country, nobody reaches out and say, hey, what I go on? Me hear you say so and so and so. I remember back in the days, Merlin Joyce Otti. You remember when Merlin was, I don't know if you remember, when Merlin was competing for Jamaica, she was a queen. There was nothing like Merlin Otti. But then Merlin Otti decided, hey, I want to elongate my career. Yeah, so she switched and got Slovenia. Now, the very people who had Merlin Otti as the empress, the queen, were now tearing her down.
Yep, yep.
Because, and I read an article recently, we have a pride. On one hand, it's very good because, it's good to be proud of your country and where you come from. You're proud of your flag. But that pride have another side to it where
Mhm.
it's false, it's negative, it's hollow, it's shallow, and you don't have nothing behind it. As long as we can use you.
Yeah, man. And it's tribal too,
Yeah, it
Tribal,
is.
man.
Very
Tribal.
much so.
Yeah.
Very
I'm
much
I'm gonna, I'm
so.
gonna like things like that because what message do you send to the next generation? Because no, youngsters are more in tune to what's happening than before.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, when we were growing up, we see Merlene, we see Veronica, we see Dwight Bigger Thomas, we see Maurice Wignall, we see all of these guys, Bert Cameron. We say, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
man, this is what we want to be like. But no, when you look at how they've treated the current crop of representatives, because I see the vitriol sometimes online, and I'm baffled. I'm like, yo, how can you speak? I mean, people have their opinions, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But when you go beat down somebody for something that they've said or a decision that they've made, what do you leave the younger generation to think that if they go out to represent our country, say Shania Douglas, she goes out to represent Jamaica and doesn't get a medal at a world championship after the promise she's shown as a junior. People are gonna start beat her up online. People are gonna start say she failed. How do you encourage a youngster to go into a space where it's so toxic, where it's so hard to compete and have fun? It's hard, man. And I think about the next generation, and that's why I think other kids are moving away from the sport,
Yeah.
because they really just want to go up on them TikTok, make them little videos, because that'll make them money. They want to go
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube, make them videos, because they don't find value anymore, or they're not finding value anymore in representing their country, in sports, especially track and field.
So, and you had mentioned it earlier about champs, the offer. And it's one of the questions I want to ask you. So now the world governing body has basically blocked, I think it was like a dozen athletes from switching allegiance to Turkey. Now, these are athletes who are accomplished for their countries at the senior level. Well, if a Turkey with all the money and all the resources decide that we want to build this thing, and since we don't have the stock, we can buy your stock. So now are we going to see now a greater effort of people coming to mine from our mines at the younger age, I said the champs, pull them out before them wear the black, green, and gold?
Corey, I don't think it's, what would be interesting for me, because it's not the athletes, it's the systems that have been put in place. The system is what produces these athletes, because people tend to forget, yeah, you have talent, but you have to nurture those talents from the basic school level, from the prep and primary school level to the high school level. Someone has to nurture these talents, and a system is in place where we see talent being churned in week in, week out, because of the expertise of coaches that are here. Now the question is Turkey really interested in building a track and field program? Will they come here to get one of our coaches, and will our coaches go? Because now the question is, if a coach can leave Jamaica to go to Turkey and coach, how is it different from an athlete who wants to go there to compete? You get me? Turkey
Mm-hmm.
offers, say for example, Turkey comes. I know Maurice Wilson probably won't leave because he's at the closer to the tail end of his career and he loves being home. But
Right.
you take a young coach, say Ronaldo Walcott, and you offer him this amount of money to coach the Turkish national program. Do you think he'll say no? I highly doubt it.
And
But
go ahead, sorry.
yeah. So I highly doubt it. So the question now becomes, do you pay for the product of the system, or do you pay for the system? Because if you can pay for the system, you will get the products if
Right.
you can, put that thing
Right.
in place and implement it in your own country. Because so many coaches from Jamaica have gone to, I remember Jerry Holness was, I think, out in India, if I
Mm-hmm.
remember correctly, or I think Michael Vassal was out in India helping with their throws program. So many of our coaches are out there. And because Karen Stewart, she
Mm-hmm.
was coaching, I think it's Auburn. I'm not sure which school she's coaching now in the States, but she had an athlete at Carifto that represented Trinidad. Is Karen a seller for coaching somebody from a rival country? No, she's not. She's plying the trade that she has in the best way possible to maximize on her
Yeah.
earnings.
Well, there are two things here. You think of a coach, the longevity, the career span of a coach. Say the coach started about, let's give him age 20. No, give him
Mhm.
about age 25.
25, right, right.
25. That coach can coach until about 65.
Yeah,
Yeah? But that coach has no allegiance to any country. I mean, because they don't compete, they're not on that country's flag, so they can't go anywhere. That's fine. But you're
hmm,
talking about over 40 odd years, 40, 50 odd years of being able to make a living and make money
right,
from their
right,
God given talent.
right.
Let's talk about the athlete now. The athlete, let's say the athlete turns pro at 20, is good enough to turn pro at 20. That athlete had better made enough money from this career, right? By the time them get to 28, 30, you better make your money, because come 34, Yeah, you have to be some kind of a special talent who would have stayed injury free, or else you're on the chopping block. You're at the exit. So you have a
Right.
very short window to make your money. Now, like you said, if you think of an athlete, a B athlete, yeah, not the elite athlete, because you'd expect that the elite athlete is gonna make a little bit more money. But even at the elite, I heard you say something earlier. You're from a single parent home. So you never grew up in a money. You never know money. Think of how many Jamaican athletes you know who born in a money and no money.
I can count on 3 fingers.
Exactly. So when the opportunity come to make that money and somebody dangle that carrot, then what you expect the athlete to, what you expect not the athlete, what you expect the person to do? Especially if that particular athlete now becomes the most gifted and the most opportuned member of a family.
Family. Yeah.
Then the athlete that must go look money, man, because remember the athlete want to lock away his or her portion, This is mine. But you have to take care of mommy, daddy, you have your brother and your sister, you have some cousin who are your good friend them.
Yeah.
Yes, what I say. So your money have to stretch. So if you have to think about your future. You
Yeah,
have to
but
think about your
again, I
future.
don't think the conversations are had with our youngsters because I knew that getting education was important. And you don't have to always be formal education. So sometimes when you're out of season, there are certain little things you can pick up, there are certain little skills that you can pick up, little trade you can pick up in a 6 week course or a 8 week course that when you're done, you can, use and what I find is that they don't use their connections very well when they go to these different countries for different meets. When I was a junior and I went to Carifta, I always ensured that I make friends with somebody from a different Caribbean island. May have a bridging somewhere. So that's why when I travel to Caribbean islands now, I not stay in a hotel,
Right.
Me know exactly who to call if I go to Trinidad, if I go to Grenada, if I go to Antigua, if I go to Bar, me know exactly who to call. So I'm fine. So the connections that you make and that you should make at your young age is to put yourself in a position that when you get older, you can lean on these people, say, all right, this is the idea to have. Things may not work out. You get me, but you have options. Me have friend there California, me have friend there England, me have friend all over the world because when I went to college, the same thing applied. I met classmates who live in Texas now who with me decided to me I go to Texas, decided to me I go Wisconsin. I know where to find myself. So I think very often our athletes they put themselves in a bubble. They lock themselves away until it's time to compete. All right, the world is my oyster from say March, February until August, September. And then I'm back in a cocoon. Nobody sees me. I don't go to the schools and give a speech. I lock myself away until it's time to compete again. It doesn't work like the world doesn't work like that. And I understand why they feel that way because sometimes it gets overwhelming. But that's why you need good people around you to guide you along the path. Say, all right, diversify your portfolio. Think of yourself as the investment. Diversify your portfolio. Running is one thing, get into public speaking, get into volunteerism, get into learning a skill. You have 4 things now on your plate, on your table that you can say, all right, let me try and refine this while I'm still competing. And then when I'm done competing, these are the things that will help pay me.
Well, I must say this, and I don't mean to be condescending, no disrespect by saying this, but it would sound to me like you're an athlete who had it from the neck up. And I mean, I'm not being condescending, I'm not being
No, I know
disrespectful.
exactly what I mean.
Some people have it from the shoulder, from the neck down,
Right.
right? And like you say, being able to hold on to them, those people, sit them down, gain their trust, and be able to talk to them about this and say, hey, listen, because again, a lot of times you grow up in a situation where the talent and the skill set that you display, that's what everybody want.
Yeah, man.
Nobody else sees that, hey, you have another skill set over here, and you put
Mhm.
so much pressure on this one skill set, mentally, physically, that
Yeah,
you
man.
say if them all go get all a debilitating injury, the world
Mash,
just come crashing.
mash them up. Mash them up. Yeah,
You see
mash
what I'm
them up.
saying? And then what happens to them afterwards?
Yeah,
You
man. Them
walk,
just fade away.
yeah, you walk on the street corner and you see them sit down and you're like, you know,
You see
it's sad, Brethren. It's sad.
yeah,
Because
man.
I've
It's
seen a
sad.
lot of it, especially in football. See so much of it.
And because this talent becomes their identity. That's why sometimes it's so hard for people to walk away from it. Their talent becomes their identity. And I think that is where I'd love for the youngsters to get. Don't allow this thing to be who you are. It is a part of you. It's a part of what you can become, but don't allow it to consume your life. You mentioned from the neck up to the head. A coach said me one time, I will never make it in track and field because I think too much. It tells the truth. I must say, yo, you think too much. You're always thinking about different things. Just go out there and run. And I remember, I think I don't remember who it was. I think it was probably Coach Houston when I was in college. Man said, just go out there and run. We had a 4x4. And I was always calculating in my mind, all right, it's raining now. Do I want, these are the things I calculate. Man said, yo, forget about that. Just go out there and run. I think that was the first time I ever run 45 something on a 4x4, like, because I wasn't thinking about anything.
Hmm.
But don't become zombies to your talent. You have endless potential. You're not just a toy that people wind up and send out there to compete. You have to think for yourself and allow people around you who have displayed the ability to think for themselves to help you.
Yeah.
As I said, some people just want take you up, wind you up as much as they can, as many times as they can, put you out there and watch you go entertain, make a money off of you, and forget about you.
The hype. The
Yeah, man,
hype.
the hype, man. I
Yeah.
mean,
And like I said, again, it goes back to, we mentioned just now, the upbringing. You think of the youth that come from in the ghetto, and I see this a lot in football, and the ghetto gas them up. Some youth, you look on them talent and you're like, yep, that is something to be nurtured. But them get gas up in the ghetto, or whatever come, not necessarily whichever community, right? And like you said, that becomes their life. It consumes them. A good man comes on and said, no, youth, you have to train. Go in at the gym, do this.
yeah,
Boy,
that.
we are telling you tonight, so the youth are the best already, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because as I'm saying this to you, doing, I'm thinking of a particular youth, and I cannot forget the Saturday. I was hearing so much about this youth. I'm going to go watch him play schoolboy football, and I look on him and I look on my brethren and say, this youth needs guidance. Very talented. Him can play all the way up the field. But him
Mm,
no run back, him no tackle. He just stands there and expect to get the ball. And I said, this youth needs guidance because he's hear me hear about him and go look on him. So I'm saying he's been
mm,
gassed up. Dwayne, I was so disappointed. Fast forward about 6 years later, me and a virgin a drive and I go to a little place and you have the shop and the pizza. There's a little
mm.
man sit down on the pizza, burn a spliff. And my brethren knew who it was and pull up and ask somebody. And I say, how the you him look familiar? And I say, yeah man, I him same one man. And I like, it just, brethren, is like a burden just come down upon me right away. I was just so dejected.
Yeah.
And his story is not unique. There are just so
Mm.
many of them because again, the way we care for our people, like you said before, we have so much of them that we don't care for each other. So we waste a lot of talent.
Yeah, man, and we don't protect our kids. We
Yeah.
we expose them to so many things, and part of it. I mean, I've seen it as well with youngsters, whether it's football, whether it's track. They get so caught up in, and we as a media have our role to play in it as well, because sometimes you come on the media and this athlete is being featured every week, so everybody will talk about him, so the hype gets to here, and then there's nobody to bring them down to ground them and say, here what. And it's one thing I loved about Coach Riley for us, because I tell a story all the time about how I almost left Ole Miss because I feel like they never rate me, even though I was the big star,
Mm-hmm.
2008 onwards. I feel like they never rate me. Because when I came up from World Youth, I get a bronze medal, come back, only 1 year into the team. So I come back almost now, going into 2000, and I say, yeah, man, me forget all of the new shoes, them. I really say, we don't do that here. This is a team, and
Right.
nobody is bigger than the team. So if you want to leave, you leave.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And this is 2009, 8 going into 9. So champs would have been 2 years after that. So this is somebody who was willing to dispose of their best asset. So you go on where you go. We can
Mm-hmm.
win it without.
Mm-hmm.
And that level of humbleness when it came on to Riley to say, yo, you're not bigger than my team, right? You're not bigger than the team, but so many schools don't do that.
Yeah.
So many of
Yeah.
these schools, they allow the athletes to believe that they are. untouchable.
Mm-hmm.
And they carry this to second form to sixth form if they stay. And then when they get into the real world and people pull up on them in a real life, nobody's there to defend you.
Right.
I'm not talking of violent, I'm talking when life pulls up on you, when life
Right.
comes to you, yo, grab you by the chest. You know, have nothing for fall back on. So you know,
Well,
have the
well,
yeah.
even in life, I remember one time I had a nephew who had gotten himself in some trouble. It was over athletics too. And he
Mm,
was suspended, and the principal decided, you know what they do it, you can't come back to school until your parents come.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, there's a big thing. I'm like, no, I'll go in and talk to the principal. And I talked to the young man, and I said, tell me exactly what happened. He told me what happened. And I said, yeah, you were wrong. And you're not going to go in the meeting. I'm not going to go into the meeting and defend you. You were wrong.
Mm.
Yeah, you're just going to have to stand up to you're wrong. So when I went in there, one gentleman was there, and him get up and start bother the principal. Who give you the right to send my son home from school? And I get up and I said, no, you will not speak to the principal like that in front of the students and other parents. You see, that's the reason why your son got suspended. And all these kids got suspended. We say, here's a lesson that we need to be teaching them. For now, for their transgression, they were just suspended. This is high school. Yes, when you leave high school and you go out there and you transgress, you think a suspension you get?
In a truck, up in the truck.
In the truck, brethren. You start getting patty through grill now. You so may I say? And like that's part of the lack of caring that we have for our people, that these kind of conversations don't happen.
Mm.
And you rightfully say it. I mean, not even the homes you don't have these conversations happening. And probably us in the media are gonna have to find a way for it. It's not gonna be popular, we know that. You're not gonna get 1 million views for saying it. But the way I look at it, if 2 people get it and we can save 2 people, then you know what? I'm happy for it, because the fact is, brethren, that is why we're where we're at now.
Yeah, yeah. And as people may look at youngsters now and say, boy, they're so resistant. As resistant as they are, there are also those who are willing to listen.
Yeah.
So I always look at it as the extreme. And if you think that somebody is extremely reluctant, then there are others who are extremely receptive of what
Yep.
you're willing to offer. And then you say, if it's the popular things are the things that are not good for them. And the unpopular things, they don't get the views, they don't get the likes. Because people talk to me all the time about I'm not on social media, this and that, because there's nothing on social for me, but youngsters them love it because it gives you. I mean, I remember talking to a female, a youngster in high school. She was in fifth form at the time, and she was having some issues with just her whole self-esteem thing. And she said, "Boy, nobody not like or post them on social." And I said, your life is so much more than that. But then just delete that and look how different your life turned out to be. And she's fine now, because they've been fed this thing that if you don't get
Likes.
validation and approval from external entities, you are worthless. And we need to get our youngsters out of not just sports, in general, if we get them out of that phase where them know so them valued despite or regardless of what they have on their social media following. So
But
yeah,
as you were there talking, I'm just thinking of football, and how many youths have been told, well, you're not at this level. And I guess it probably happened in track and field too. You tell people, hey, you're not at this level, so try something else. Or you discourage, you dissuade them, right? When you and I know, because we've been exposed to the world, we know the world is wide open, brethren.
wide open.
The world is so wide open. And like you rightfully said before, if you have a talent platform, you might not be an elite athlete, but you can still go out there, put your talent out there. Somebody will see your discipline. And like you say, you meet people, you speak well, somebody's going to impress and somebody's going to be curious, and all of a sudden you might realize that, oh, I might not have been the elite athlete that I was gassed up to, that I could be, but hey, I might have become the best manager.
Elite agent.
Yeah, man. How many athletes we have who have turned lawyers?
Yeah, doctors, pilots.
Use a platform. We have athletes who have used the platform and are now sports analysts.
Yeah,
Jamaica
it
me
is
come from. You know me have to throw a word. Jamaica me come from.
a platform. That is the thing, the platform that they have to operate. You can't just I look at it as a basketball. I played basketball as well. You have a court. You can't just stay down on one side and think say you're gonna shoot. Sometimes you gotta defend, sometimes you have to
Mm-hmm.
the mid court. You have so much space to operate. Use the space.
Yeah. That's exactly correct. Man, Dwayne, I mean, the conversation took a different turn, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it because one thing about me, I'm willing to speak the truth, the raw truth. I speak about the
Yeah.
real world. It's not a put on, it's not a show. We call it a show, but it's not a show because at the end of the day, like you and I have identified, people out there need to get quality information.
Yeah.
It's not about the hype. People need to understand the hype. That what hype is like to me? Bamboo fire. Blaze fast and it blaze bright. But guess what happen? Burn out quick.
Real quick.
Can't make coal. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I think we just need to keep that standard going. But I want to ask you this finally before we go though. Do you believe that, I mean, we are already doing it, but can it be formalized where we just export talent? I mean, we're already doing it because we have doctors and lawyers operating elsewhere. I mean, our biggest earning in Jamaica is not tourism. That's what they tell you, but we know it's not. Remittance is. And it's all the
Like
talent that we send overseas who are now doing well, who would not be able to find a space in Jamaica because we are not equipped to contain all the talent we have. So should we just decide, say, yeah, we're just going to export talent, man, whether it be sports, medicine, wherever, just export the talent, just find a way of getting them to, probably if we love on them some more, then
Yeah.
they'll keep sending back the money and keep billing. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think it's an interesting concept. There are a lot of things that may prevent that from happening. But I think what we can do is export our systems. I think when we have the systems that and Jamaica is, if you can learn at Jamaica, you can learn anywhere in the world. I tell you that
True.
all the time.
True.
UE, I finished my master's the other day. UE is so tough.
Congrats.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And if you can learn here, you can learn anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think the systems that we have in place can be monetized. I think it has the potential, especially track and field. And I'm gonna focus on track. If we can get other countries interested to, because people still send their athletes here, countries send their athletes here to train. If we can formalize our systems in such a way where we can make profit from it, yeah, I think we should sell the systems because what's it gonna hurt? We're competing against the best in the world. We're still generating revenue. Yeah, people will say, yeah, man, athletes must go overseas and switch allegiance, but that is a quick fix. We have to think about things long term and sustainable. How can we have this thing that is maintained for the next 50 years?
Mm-hmm.
Don't think about what's right in front of your nose.
Yeah, play
Think
chess and
about
not
down the
draft.
line. Yeah, man.
Mm.
And that's one of the first things I learned to play now. Chess. My mother sent me to play chess, and I wasn't very good because I never had no patience for it. But the concept of chess, you think moves ahead, you think down the line to how can I produce a system that will help to feed my people for years to come and not just today.
And what a reason why it's so difficult. We go back to the whole concept of from slavery through colonialism to what we have now. The one thing that they could not contain about us was the talent.
Mhm.
You think of a people that has gone through what black people have gone through, the beatings, everything we've been through, but we bounce back. Like the song say, what a hard man for dead. You pick him up, you
Yeah,
lick him down, and bounce right
bounce
back.
right back.
And that's
Yeah.
us. So what we have missed over the years, Dwayne, is that our biggest asset was never bauxite. Yeah?
Never sugar.
Never sugar.
Yep.
Yeah? Nor tobacco.
Or the
Nor
banana.
banana. Those
Or
are
coffee.
just supplemental. Our biggest resource and export is the talent of our people. Because if you
100%.
look at it now, look at even tourism, where they're trying to convince us that tourism is the biggest thing. You realize that tourists are people.
Yeah.
But who
It's
are these
people.
people?
Right.
They're
It's
not
people.
us.
Right.
You understand? When we talk about tourism, I don't even think when they mention tourism, they mention the Jamaicans who travel back to Jamaica.
No, I don't want to mention the foreigners.
Only the foreigners, and most time it's gonna be the white foreigner.
Yeah, the white foreigners.
So you see, our problem is locked up like in a system that needs to be broken.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that'll take a while. That'll take a while to do that.
it has taken a while and it will take a while, but I think the conversation keeps happening and people keep going away and seeing it, at some point we can break the back of the system.
Yeah, man, I just need somebody radical for just lock up a gate over UA and decide say, oh, nobody now come out. But I get you. I get you.
Yeah. But brethren, man, what a conversation! What a conversation! I could go on and on and on, because yeah, I love these type of conversations, because I like I say, I love go behind the hype.
Yeah,
And
man.
that's why they get me in trouble with that athlete, because I knew what was behind. I just couldn't tell the story. So even
I
when
think
I
I know what
wrote,
you're talking about.
yeah, in my mind, when I write the story, I'm thinking that I'm giving this athlete a boost to say, hey, you're getting some recognition. But then there's also the downside of it. So it's always a catch-22. But
Yeah,
I
man.
just think we just have to keep doing the work.
Have to do it. Have to do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So, brethren, enough respect. Thanks for talking.
Yeah,
and
man.
hopefully the next time, boy, we can catch a little quicker.
For sure, man. Definitely.
Yeah, man. But we really appreciate it, man. And in America, when a man said that he's a soldier, the first thing that come out of Americans' mouth is that thanks for your service. Yeah, and
Yep.
you have to admire those things. And I think that is something that we should probably adopt for our athletes and for the people who represent us. Thanks for your service. So I'm saying to you, brethren, thanks for your service in track and field. And even know that you're back in Jamaica and you're contributing to the economy and to what's happening to the sports, which I love, which is my life. Just thanks for your service. Thanks for all you do. And hey, keep trucking.
Yeah. Thanks for the platform as well, my brother.
Yeah, man. And we talk again soon.
All right. Blessings.
All right.
Take
Yeah,
care.
man. Thanks. Appreciate it. Cool.